All right, everybody. Friday. Thank God it's Friday. What a long week. July 25th, right around noon. And I'm excited to do this. We did this back in COVID in 2020, and we are bringing back Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews. Brett, how you doing, man? It's been too long.
Billy, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's the best time of year. It's preseason. Everybody's undefeated. Everybody's optimistic. And, I'm excited to break down my annual preview magazine here. Yeah, it's been a while since we last talked. Since then, I've launched a hard copy version of the magazine, which, they say print is dead, but I think certain products you still want to have in your hand. You want to bring it to the beach, the lake, and have it on the couches on Saturday. So the hard copy is shipping. And, excited to break down a crazy 2025 season.
It makes me think every time you read it. My buddy John Yetzi is holding up against the Kindle change. Some people just like to have it in paper, and also I know it's been shown around a lot. But for those of you that don't know, I'm going to read this quote from David Jones about Brett when he joined the Heisman voting panel. David Jones said, "Brett Ciancia is on the way to becoming the Ken Pomeroy of college football. I was blown away by his dedicated research and commitment. The first time I saw how much work he sinks into Pick Six Previews, that is why I immediately made him a Heisman Trophy voter in Pennsylvania. Pick Six Previews is 165 pages of data that is statistically the most accurate Power 4 preview since 2012. And Brett, 2022 was the first season that you were eligible for the Stassen's accuracy intervals and placed number one in all three for, I believe it was the 5, 10, and 15-year stretch. And that was the third Triple Crown winner in the 30-plus years of magazine tracking. So I know that was a lot of accolades, but Brett, congratulations on all of your success, all of your growth, and, looking forward to breaking down some stuff here.
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, I always said if they're going to keep score with these magazines, I want to go win it. So for what it's worth, yeah, the Triple Crown there, prediction accuracy. But as we dive in, I mean, it's more than just the picks. It's really about the breakdowns, the positional breakdowns. I think other magazines are great too. I think sometimes it gets tiring reading so many acronyms or formulas. So I try and put it back into readable terms. But yeah, excited to break it down here.
Exactly. And now you mentioned keeping score. There may be some people listening that are keeping tabs and saying, okay, every time a preview magazine comes out or every time you listen to a podcast, you say, why is this person telling me this? And who does their alliance lead to? So can you tell everybody a little bit about just when you found out you were interested in this type of research or this field, and then also what team you grew up rooting for or where you grew up? So we can dispel any insider stuff.
No, that goes a long way for sure. But born and raised outside of Philadelphia, about an hour west of Philly. It's a pretty rural area, Chester County. And what it is really, it's really a pro sports area. So, I mean, my main allegiance was with the Eagles growing up, going up every Sunday. So no allegiance there. But really, that's where I found my passion for college football. Me and my dad were college football guys. I mean, every Saturday growing up was multiple TVs and barbecuing and everything. So continued that passion into my college years and post-grad. And for college, I went up to Boston College. And I know that's somewhat of a rival with Virginia Tech fans, but I'll say I missed the good years. I missed the Matt Ryan years. I missed, they've had some other seasons in the past before that even, but I was there 2011 to 2015. So really the highlights were seeing Luke Kuechly play. I mean, a great linebacker, sideline to sideline. He made every play. And then Andre Williams had a nice Heisman campaign. Yeah. Best game up there was when we beat USC. Got to storm the field finally. They gave us one big moment. It was senior year. Actually, the first ever red bandana game. If you're familiar with the red bandana, that was the inaugural. It was number 9 USC, and BC took them down. So anyway, that's the bias. It's funny. I go on these national shows, and when I get asked that, it's kind of harmless because Boston College is nowhere near the playoff talk. It's more of a hockey bias, if you will. So I've been down to Virginia Tech for a game when I was growing up in high school, and got to see Enter Sandman and just got to see an electric atmosphere. So I want to get back. I was really young when I went, but it's on the list to get back to.
Well, we're doing everything we can to give people with no reason other than come down to watch good football a reason to come back, and hopefully we can get there sooner than later. So let's talk a little bit about your process. So the season ends, national championship confetti is falling. What does it look like for you following that moment? And how many hours per year are you putting into doing this preview?
Yeah, well, great question. It really is a full year process, but yeah, you're right. It does heat up when the final game finishes because the first part of this is the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. That's my background. But once the season ends, I can run all my stats, all my advanced stats, all the formulas. I can start to update all those graphics that you see on the pages because all that is based off of the prior season. So January, February is a lot of numbers and just the analytical side of it, keeping tabs on signing day, the first transfer portal window, and then getting ready for spring. March, April is that spring ball. It's crazy busy. I'm starting to write the previews a little bit, talking to head coaches, talking to coordinators, watching spring games, although they're trying to take those away from us. So that's kind of a dying breed. But and then you get into May, and that's really the last round of transfers. It's crazy how much this has changed since I first launched it, but the transfer game is overwhelming. That's really May, June, finishing up the writing. And then, of course, as a one-man company, I got to turn around, print this thing, and then edit it myself. So, you write it, edit it, and then send it off to the print press. And that's where we are now. The exciting part is finally published and shipping them out. Another truckload of magazines went out today. So really excited here. This is the best time of year. But that's the process. It's really exhaustive. It's a good balance of analytical and numbers, but then watching a lot of tape, and then talking to coaches, coordinators, and just trying to learn the personnel. But yeah, that's the goal with it, is to give you a really balanced approach, the numbers, the personnel, in a really readable format.
So my question, because I've gone through this as a certainly not professional or really effective gambler, but how often, if ever, if you're a numbers guy, have you ever ventured away from the numbers? Have you ever come across a team, a player, a ranking, and you said, I know that the computer is telling me this, but I feel this way? How often do you see yourself doing that? Or is there a ratio between what numbers are telling you and what your gut is telling you?
Yeah, well, I would say all the time, really is,
Okay.
I think it's, you got to be holistic. I try and weigh them all. I look at my advanced stats, but as you know, football is more than just numbers. I mean, the ball
Mhm.
bounces a crazy way. You got other factors, turnover game and all kinds of stuff, schedule bonuses. Sometimes teams get lucky with schedule draws and conferences. So it's a lot deeper than just like, here's what the computer's printing out. This is my top 25. It really is. Especially during this transfer era, you got to go position by position and see who's coming in, who's leaving. Another thing too is not all transfers are the same. I mean, sometimes you'll read that, okay, this receiver room, they added two guys
Mhm.
from whatever school, and here's their name. You know nothing about these guys, so I try and dig in. How they produce at their last school? How were they rated originally as high school prospects? Why'd they transfer? Are they going to start here? Are they back up? So it's really exhaustive. And I would say it's a lot deeper than just the formula. So, my answer would be strike a balance, use it. Definitely. The numbers are very indicative, but it's not everything.
So before we get into some topics for this year, do you have any super surprising outcomes that stand out to you since you've done this? Whether it be a team that vastly overperformed the model's expectations and your expectations, or somebody that vastly underperformed?
In the past or
Yep,
this year? Okay.
in the past.
Yeah, well, a team and a fan base that I've become really like an alliance with is Utah, and this is a team that
Okay.
other magazines, other publications, they really overlooked them over the years. A lot of times, the other magazines were picking USC and UCLA based off just their raw recruiting stats. But I loved what Utah was building and has built for the last decade plus with Kyle Whittingham. Part of it is you watch these spring games and you watch USC or UCLA or other teams, and they're playing basically 7-on-7. Then you go watch
Mhm.
Utah. They're smashing each other, man. It is, quarterbacks are full contact. You got face mask smashing, breaking in half. So, like, I saw the physicality there, and I saw their track record at a defensive coordinator with Morgan Scalley. So, multiple years there. I want to say like 2019 through really the end of the Pac-12. I was picking them higher than most, and they made me look smart. Utah came through a lot of times. And that goes to your other question, too, about looking at computer and recruiting rankings, because Utah vastly outperforms what you would expect on paper. And a lot
Mhm.
of that is culture. A lot of that is player retention. I know these are buzzwords, but at certain places they matter. And so I'd say Utah is the team that made me look smart over the years.
Well, you can call them buzzwords, but I mean, just being at ACC Media Day, they're buzzwords if you're talking about them as something you're trying to do. But if these schools are able to accomplish them, there are positive outcomes that come with it. It's just every single coach and every single program and every single fan base wants to think that their school is either ahead of the curve of doing it or on the path to being better at it. So 100% being able to define what those are and lock them in is what makes a huge difference. This is what I'm most excited to talk to you about. And it has been a hot topic item for everybody for a long period of time. And everybody that weighs in on it has bias. You hear it from Paul Feinbaum. You hear it from Ryan Day. You hear it from Lane Kiffin. Everybody wants to tell you what the best conference is. And most of the people weighing in on it are in or associated with the conferences that they're talking about. So for you, having this much experience and looking at all of these different schools and going through this for, a decade plus, we'll start with the SEC and the Big Ten. Can you tell me, over the course of how long you've been doing this, what the separation is between both leagues and how you feel like that has changed or not changed up until today?
Yeah, it's a great question, especially in this mega conference era. The TV networks are really taking over. I think they have, through all the money and funding and fan base size, I think you do have a bigger two right now with SEC and Big Ten. But so I launched in 2012. And if you flash back to that time, that was the Saban dynasty. That was the SEC really running it. And then it led into a little bit of the Bama versus Dabo 4-year stretch there. So for the bulk of this publication, it has been SEC driven, SEC dominated. And I know the Big Ten has won the last 2 national titles, but I don't really judge a conference based off their top, just to say they have a national champion. Because if you go, if you go back to those Dabo years, I don't think anybody was saying, wow, Clemson won the national title. The ACC is definitely the best conference in the country. I just don't get that logic. So it certainly helps. It's a nice feather in their cap, but I think you got to look at the depth and all the player personnel and the coaching within the conference. So over the lifetime of Pick Six previews, it's definitely the SEC. I think currently I'd still say the SEC, despite the Big Ten winning the last 2 titles. Here's the thing. You look at recruiting rankings, you can maybe call them biased, but if you're into that thing, the SEC dominates the recruiting trail. But even if we throw that out, here's an organization that is not affiliated at all, is the NFL. They're not. The NFL isn't some SEC extension. It's really just that they're billion-dollar businesses. So if you look at who they're drafting every year, go back 20 years, it's the SEC is the most draft picks every single year for 20 years. So I don't think that's an inherent bias. I think that's talent evaluation and a billion-dollar business. So there's that. And then another angle I was thinking about just this week with media days is because now everyone is talking about more expansion and what that should look like. And I think it's a little bit telling that here's the 2 approaches. The SEC, they want each conference champ to get 1 and then have a whole at-large field. I think that means that they know they have stronger teams and they can get maybe more than 3 or 4 or 5 in there. The counter to that is the Big Ten, which I think is a little bit scared in a way. They want to just lock in 4 automatic bids every year. So they just say, hey, give me the 4, that's it. And I think that it's a little bit telling to see what their playoff models, because I think the SEC is more confident than the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think confidence definitely plays a part in it. And I also think, whether it be true or not true, I think the SEC knows that they can rely on the media for the most part backing the SEC. And anytime I get into an argument or a debate around this, the real only tangible evidence that you can point to when you break down these 2 conferences is the recruiting. And the fact of the matter is, the best players play in the SEC. Now, what sucks for the Big Ten is you have this success of going to the national title. You have the success of beating the SEC in bowl games. Like, the Big Ten performed very well against the SEC in these bowl games. And it's right when bowl games start to not matter anymore. So it's a little bit of an interesting situation. I'm not sure how you flip that narrative, but I would say, I'm curious if you agree, the gap has significantly closed. The difference between, I guess, your tier 2 and the Big Ten is not as wide of a gap as it used to be for your tier 2 in the SEC.
Yeah, so I think the Big Ten has definitely caught up a little bit to the SEC, or like you said, narrowed the gap. A big deal is those 4 additions that they brought in from the Pac-12. Really 3 of them, with Oregon and USC leading the charge at the top. I mean, those are big spenders. Those are big programs. Even Washington has a good legacy. So, and if UCLA wakes up and starts funding their program, they're in a recruiting hotbed. So I think the addition of those 4, and really it's the NIL era now. It's the big money spender, big booster money era. And who has the biggest alumni bases? It's the Big Ten. These are giant state schools. Like I said, based in Pennsylvania here. Penn State is massive across the whole Northeast, let alone Pennsylvania. I think they have the most CEOs per capita or some crazy stat. Penn Staters will tell you all their stats, but Anyway, now that money is driving it even more, love it or hate it, I think the Big Ten has a lot of resources that they're now going to start, pumping into the programs. And you've seen that. I mean, the big coaching raises. I mean, Indiana is investing in football all of a sudden. So you're right about that bottom to middle tier is really elevating within the Big Ten.
So tell me about the Big 12 and the ACC. And one of the things that I've been saying all week for ACC Media Days is it, for lack of better terms, it pisses me off that all of these media members are asking ACC coaches and Big 12 coaches, hey, why is your conference a multi-bid league? And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm saying, how is he going to say anything that makes any difference? Like, why don't you prove that you're a multi-bid league? To come out and say before any football games have been played that you are a multi-bid league and you're not the SEC and Big Ten seems kind of crazy to me. I'm curious how you compare these two conferences.
Yeah, well, most importantly, to get multi-bids, they need to go dominate their non-conference slate. So for the ACC, that means they got to take care of Notre Dame. They got to start winning these marquee national games against Notre Dame. The Big 12 has some opportunities as well, but that's the first thing you look at is the non-conference. You can really make a splash if your top teams, run the table in September. But how do I compare these two leagues? It goes back to our other point. I mean, in terms of championship access and maybe your top handful of teams, programs, I'd say the ACC is stronger. I mean, what Clemson has done the last decade is impressive. Miami is a sleeping giant. They can contend for national titles. Florida State did, and had an undefeated year a couple years ago. So that's your big three there. I do like Georgia Tech improving. They're based in Atlanta, which is one of the hotbeds of recruiting. SMU, really impressed. They have a lot of money behind them. So, I like their top handful of schools, and Virginia Tech also a sleeping giant. Most of my youth, they were right there in the top 25 every year. You want to see them get back. So I like their teams at the top. Where I'll say the Big 12 has the advantage is just how deep it is. You don't really have a top 10 team, but you have a lot of top 40 over here. One of my coaching calls, I asked some coaches, like, what do you think about other contenders in the league? And I asked them who's the favorite and all that, just to get some coaches' perspective. In the Big 12, the guys I asked, they say there is no top team. There's like 8 teams that could win it. Even some as many as 10 teams could win this conference. So long story short, the ACC has more firepower and real championship brands at the top, but I think the depth of the Big 12, I also like their fan passion a bit more in the Big 12. You see packed stadiums. It's really all they care about in that part of the country is college sports. Whereas the bottom half of this ACC, you got empty stadiums. I mean, I'll throw BC in there. It's empty stadiums, a lot of them, Cal, Stanford. You want to see that improve, but those are the pros and cons. And, I like both these leagues a lot. I'm excited to see them unfold.
Last 3 that I have for you. You've spoken with 25 head coaches and coordinators in this cycle. Throughout these conversations, how do you approach it? I know that you just mentioned that you do ask them about other teams in the league, but was there anything that really stood out for you? And you mentioned that you spoke to Coach Pry, Virginia Tech's head coach. Any specific insights that you can recall or just anything gleaning from there? And I'll say this too. There may be some Virginia Tech fans listening to this. If you are interested in seeing what the Pick Six Previews has to say about Virginia Tech or the rest of the ACC, I do strongly encourage you check it out, but we're not going to sit here and read through all of it. I know a ton of work goes into this, Brett. So just disclaimer there for everybody listening.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And yeah, that's one of the coolest parts of this is getting to talk to head coaches and coordinators and really, see a little bit behind the lens there, what's going on in practice. And I will say on a macro level, it has shifted a little bit the last couple of years where just say a handful of years ago, they were very open. They want to really pitch their candidates for all conference teams and all America spots and very open about schemes and stuff. Last couple of years, especially this cycle, it's more private now. It's like they don't want to give away any secrets. They don't want to talk about their rising stars. I mean, not that I would leak it, but and it's similar to how you see them canceling spring games. They don't want coverage of like their depth. They don't want to be poached. So I will say it was a lot more private this year. Very guarded head coaches. With Brent Pry, he was one of my favorite interviews I got to talk to. He seems like a really genuine, likable guy. Actually, we talked to him a couple years ago. It wasn't this cycle. It was the year 2022, and he took over. So his first offseason. Remember things he talked about. He wanted to incorporate more of the alumni back into the fold, really welcome them. Wanted to establish in-state recruiting even more with Virginia, the footprint. He talked about this, his time at Penn State, because he was a coordinator at Penn State for about 5 to 7 years. He said that a lot of times Penn State would be first into the room at a lot of Virginia prospects, even before Virginia Tech. As a Penn Stater, he loved that. But now that he was the head coach of Virginia Tech, he says that's unacceptable. So wanted to reclaim the state of Virginia in terms of recruiting. I remember asking him, what's your scheme look like for defense? And he just replied, it's going to look like Penn State. It was a 2-word answer. It's like Penn State. So I like that. But that's what I really remember. Really nice guy, though. And, I remember leaving the call being like, you know what, I'm pulling for him in this program. Other coaches this year, I tried to talk to a lot of Big 12 just to see behind what they were thinking, because that league is so wide open. And a lot of them are bringing up Texas Tech, and just the amount of, I don't know if the Virginia Tech fans are familiar, but what Texas Tech did is they just unloaded all their big oil money this year. They put it all their chips are on the table for 2025, and they ended up signing the number 1 transfer class in the country. And when you break it down, number of blue chippers, they signed 12 guys. That's more than the rest of the whole conference combined. So anyways, the other head coaches were talking about the insane resources that Texas Tech is pumping in and how that roster is going to look. So, really insightful. It has gotten tougher this cycle. I guess more private information on these teams and players. They don't want to get poached, but it's still a rewarding experience. Yeah.
So, yes, the mainstream media has been talking a lot about Texas Tech. I'm curious, is there something that you and your preview feel very strongly about that the mainstream media or the main thinking world may disagree with?
Oh, that's a great one. A couple teams that I'm not really buying the preseason hype. You see these every year that come up, and normally what it is maybe a 10-win team last year that returned some starters. Right now, this team this year is Illinois for me, where they're a popular playoff dark horse other places, or a top 10 team. And I've got them down at 35th in the book. I respect what Brett Bielema did last year. He won 10 games. He beat South Carolina in the bowl. And I think 19 starters are back, but I think that roster kind of hit its peak last year. And when you look at the advanced stats, this goes to your other question, how much do stats factor in? I do weigh it a lot. And this team did not have the profile of a 10-win team. You look at their numbers in the book here, bottom 10 defense in the country. They finished 35th in game grader, my formula last year. So I think they've hit their ceiling, and it's got a tough schedule there in the Big Ten. So that's a team I'm more pessimistic on. The team I'm optimistic on, I throw TCU into here. This is a team no one's talking about. I got to talk to Coach Sonny Dykes. Really deep receiver core. Josh Hoover might be the most underrated quarterback in the country. So I've got them in my top 25. I don't think you'll find that anywhere. So, there's always a couple teams every year where I really stray from the media. And part of that is, I try and stay siloed. I try and just I tune out all the other way too early lists and other books until mine is done. I want to come at it with an original thought, original research. And then, of course, now in August, I'll catch up on everybody else's. But that's where I landed on those two teams. But, it's a really wide open field this year, really wide open Big 12. And, I can't wait to see it unfold.
Last one here for you. And you mentioned TCU. I hadn't thought about this until yesterday, but it's really interesting that TCU was the opponent for Deion Sanders his first year, and they're going to be the opponent for Bill Belichick his first year here coming up this fall. I'm curious, how do you approach looking at a team like Stanford with Frank Reich? Never coached in college, no idea what they're going to run. North Carolina, you have an idea what they're going to run, but you don't know how it's going to translate in North Carolina or the college game. And then also Virginia Tech, 2 brand new coordinators. Like, how do you really try to navigate and look at it objectively with also not a ton to go off of?
Yeah, well, that's really tough when they come from the pros or other areas where you don't have any track record on these guys. So they're new faces to the college game. I mean, you have to trust Bill Belichick a little bit. You have to trust even not just him, but his ability to build a staff and to really install a culture. I mean, I don't think UNC is going to click this year as more of a 2026 project for me, just because of all the player transition happening. It's so many new faces. I really look towards the second year of coaches and coordinators. I think you talk to them, you hear about it. It's just, they're so much more advanced with scheme install in their second year. It's like the first year is like learning a new language. Then by the second year, it's just ingrained and they're more used to it. So coaching changes are tough. And if you're in the preview magazine business, you don't want question marks. You want to know what you have. You want to be able to forecast it. So when teams have all these question marks, that's usually a negative thing. So that's how I'd answer that. But I looked a lot towards the second year of a head coach and his staff.
Brett Ciancia with Pick Six Previews. I know that I'm working my way through it right now. Incredible work in here. And again, it's not like you're not reading it and you're saying, okay, it kind of looks like all of the other ones that we have. It's a very unique way of looking at it. You can get yours today for just $20. And for you paper people, you can go out there and you can get one as well. And then I do want to just ask you, Brett, can you tell us a little bit about the Pick Six Plus that you're offering this year?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's always great talking. It's been a while. It feels like just yesterday, but it has been a while. So great to be back on. But yeah, so we launched since then. Like I said, the hard copy is available. We're shipping them out. And then if you like the preview magazine, you want more stuff in season. This time around, we've launched Pick Six Plus. It's a weekly PDF that gets emailed over to you every Tuesday in the fall from week 1 through the playoffs. And what it is, it's all the advanced stats you see in my book, plus more. More of a Vegas against the spread angle too. If you're into that kind of thing, it's just it refreshes every week. So it gives you the team's advanced stats, their opponent's advanced stats, so you can kind of compare visually. It's got game logs, all the against the spread information you'd want, situational splits. Like if you're ever curious, hey, how's Virginia Tech off of a bye week, or how's Virginia Tech versus ranked teams straight up against the spread this year, the last 5 years, everything you could think of, all in one place. One last thing in there is the talent view. I love this thing where you could pull up Virginia Tech, say they're playing Wake Forest. You could see who has more 4-stars on their roster, who has more mock NFL draft picks coming up. So a lot of ways to break down a game, but I think that it gives you all the information you'd want there on one page. Well, 68 pages, one for every team. But yeah, go check it out. We have a sample up there, pick6previews.com/plus, but you'll see the links in there, Pick Six Plus.
Brett, keep up the fantastic work. We will not go this long without having you on again. And please enjoy. I know it's the off season is coming to an end, but I guess there is no off season now with Pick Six Plus. But yeah. I guess not as much going on. So wishing you the best. Enjoy the season, and thank you for all your hard work and joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck, Hokies, this year.